All right, we're taking a 0, and since we've already finished our laundry and we've eaten as much as we can possibly eat in 2 sittings, and we've resupplied, we thought maybe now would be a good time to just answer some questions that have come up. How is the Z-Packs Vertice jacket performing?
I think it performs pretty well. It doesn't wet out during the day. As long as you manage your body heat, it stays pretty dry. I think our experience has been we're actually getting wet from the inside out, not the outside in.
The exertion is actually wetting us down. I would say the fabric feels a little delicate, so I'm being careful when we're having to bushwhack around a deadfall or something. I'm being protective of it. I've caught it several times in the zipper, so that might end up being a problem. But so far, I'm very, very pleased with the rain jacket. And it's super lightweight, which I love. And it has pit zips, which I love. Now, if I could change 2 things, I would offer the longer length in both genders, because I think the longer length is worth the extra weight. And the other thing is, I would make it use a zipper that can be opened from the bottom so that your stride is not affected by the jacket. What are you using for traction? In 2018, my sister gave us a Christmas gift. She gave us both a pair of these snow tracks, which I think you can buy on Amazon. And it's very similar to the nano spikes that you can buy from the same company that makes micro spikes. And just these simple traction devices proved to be invaluable.
So traction is really important, and one of the other questions we got about not traction but weather was, do you think you started too early?
Okay. I think we did not start too early. I like when we started. I like that we were ahead of the real social bubble. I know eventually some of them will catch up to us. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded starting maybe 2 or 3 weeks sooner, because what we did was we're leveraging the nice days. And if you do start early, you have to make sure that you have the money to head to town and the time to head to town. So when you start really early, you do have the time.
I would add one more, and that is you have to have the discipline to get off the mountain. You got to watch the weather. We use an app called
atweather.org.
Yeah. And it's been very reliable, and when they say there's going to be bad weather, we just make the choice to get off the mountain. So,
and it is a tough choice sometimes.
Yeah.
You want to keep going. You don't want to cancel on a forecast, but yeah, sometimes the smarter thing is just to get off the mountain.
Yeah. What are you using to guide your way along the AT?
Basically, we're relying on 3 things. The first one is the AT Guide by David A. Wall Miller, and it's a book that's published every single year, so make sure you get the newest version. And it's highly detailed. To that, we supplement the Guthook app, which is a paid app and worth every penny, and that gives us details about everything that's coming up, from water sources to lodging. The other thing we use is the website for weather, at.org.
The other thing about Guthooks is it's a GPS-enabled application, so it tells you precisely where you are relative to the trail. It's not designed to help you find the trail, but to help you find where you are on the trail.
And you can use it completely independent of a cell signal. If you can put your phone in airplane mode and still use the Guthook app.
One of the people that's watching that asked if we're using sleeping bags or quilts.
Our quilts are the Enlightened Equipment Revelation quilts. We have upgraded from a 20-degree quilt to a 0-degree quilt, and I do not regret that decision at all.
Not one bit. We've had some cold nights.
I do believe we'll be swapping back to our 20-degree quilt in about a month, when we're certain we're beyond the cold weather. A 20-degree quilt will keep you alive at 20 degrees, not comfortable.
But a 0-degree quilt will keep you comfortable at 20 degrees. And we've had
Even down to 17.
Yeah, we've had some 20-degree nights. So we're using quilts, but one of the other viewers asked, what are we pairing the quilts with for sleeping pads?
The sleeping pad is a very important decision, and we did try a lot of different sleeping pads. The air mattress we use is the Thermarest X-Therm, and it's an R value of 5.6. And we are using the full size, which they don't make anymore, but there is a contoured one that they do still make. And for the weather conditions we've had, I can't imagine sleeping on anything that doesn't protect as well as that.
Yeah, and they're really very comfortable in shelters where cold air comes up through the floor. They really insulate you from that cold air, and when you're sleeping on the cold ground, right after a long day of hiking, they do a good job of insulating that as well.
You've probably seen Rock Flipper in some of these videos, because he's been hiking along with us and we're all about the same pace. We all have the exact same mat, and I can attest that the mat is not a noisy mat either. It's very quiet to sleep on. We inflate them fully, and that's another secret with trying to keep a mat quiet, is if it's fully inflated, it's a lot quieter than one that's partially inflated. Okay, I think the hat might have its own fan group now. Do you want to talk about your little friend here?
So I'm really sensitive to the sun, and I don't like to get sunburned. So I found this hat several months ago. It's made by Tilley in Canada. That's Tilley. It's got a lifetime guarantee. It's a vented hat. It's a full brim. It's incredibly comfortable, and it's really light. The only time I don't wear it is when it's either encrusted with snow or completely frozen flat after it's been compressed overnight. And other than that, I think I've worn it almost every day.
Do we plan to swap out any clothing?
Yes, basically we're hiking now in our winter gear. We're carrying long johns, we're carrying heavy wool shirts. We'll swap all of that out. In fact, we've had all of our summer gear treated so that it'll be insect repellent.
Yeah, if you send it off, there's a company, just Google Insect Shield. We sent off a box of clothing to Insect Shield, and we got it back in about a week and a half. And all the clothes have been treated with permethrin, so that as soon as the tick season begins, we'll be protected from ticks and other insects, but primarily Lyme disease and tick-borne illnesses.
And so we'll make that swap as the temperatures come up. But right now we're in that kind of unusual period where one day we're just completely layered up, and the next day we're just hiking in a shirt and pants. Yeah. It's just amazing.
I would say what we've got will still take us through another month. Our clothing is pretty flexible right now. Our layering system is pretty flexible. We did a video on the layering system about a week ago. We've got two questions on our process for creating videos. One is what software are we using for editing? I'm using iMovie. It's on my phone. And then the other question is, how are we keeping our electronics powered? To keep everything powered, I chose the RAV Power, which is available on Amazon. It's a 26,800 milliamp hour charger. I can get at least 4 full charges on my iPhone from this charger. It weighs a lot less than the Anchor, but I'll tell you, I think the Anchor is actually a better charger, a little more reliable. This one's been a little bit glitchy. And in cold temperatures, I actually have to bring it into the quilt and keep it in my clothing to get it to charge my phone. It does weigh a pound. And so that's one of the sacrifices I make to have a daily video. Okay. Our final question that we're going to talk through is how is it sleeping in shelters, and especially with the critters in the shelters. And I'll tell you, our first night on the Appalachian Trail, we went to Stover Creek Shelter, and that very first night I had critters rustling around my head, going through my stuff, making noise all night long until it got down below 30 degrees, and then I think they all went off and hibernated. It was very annoying. Since then, we're still sleeping in shelters, but we've learned earplugs and Advil. So the Advil keeps you from tossing and turning all night because it kind of eases some of the aches and pains from the day. And the earplugs keep you from hearing the little scratchy noises along the floorboards.
Or the person next to you who is snoring. living in a shelter sleeping in a shelter is a team sport. You could be in there with 4 or 5 people you've never met. You're just lined up like cordwood down the length of the shelter. They're generally dry. I think most of them have had a brush or a broom so we could sweep them out and make sure they were clean enough to put our mats down.
They're for the most part level, so you're not rolling into each other all night.
And then the things you have to accommodate for is you can't keep food in a shelter, so you have to hang your bear bag or put it in a bear box or up on a bear cable. And it's really a good idea to hang your pack from the ceiling of the shelter and have some sort of barrier to keep the critters from actually getting from the rafters down to your pack. And those are colloquially called chandeliers in the shelters. But if you do those things, the critters are not real bothersome in the shelters.
Yeah, we've been pretty disciplined now about tidying up everything. And what's not hanging from a critter-resistant cord or cable is probably inside our sleeping bags now, because we probably have to keep it warm, like the charging block, our water filter, our phones.
Basically all the electronics go in the sleeping bag.
Sometimes, yeah. You know, it's been so much fun to read through the comments. I love it when people start a conversation in the comments and we don't even have to get involved.
Right.
We learn a lot from you. Sometimes I post pictures of animals and I don't even know what the animal is, but some helpful person will come along and say, oh, you know, that's a rufous-sided towhee. So please keep it up. We've had a good time with it. We love your encouragement. It really cheers us up.
Yeah, thanks for being out there for us.